One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice.
Welcome to the One Mic, One Voice show, building the collective conscious. Show that's created to give space where your voice, ideas, and informed opinions can be heard, appreciated, and debated. I am Michael Eric Owens. Welcome to the show, folks. Sunday, sun shining. It's a new day, new opportunity, another chance to get it right. I appreciate you tuning in with me today to talk about something that is not easily digested. I titled this episode, I don't even know how many episodes it is, man. I lost count. It's been about 6 years. It's been a lot done, lot talked about. I would think a little bit solved. But today, how do we fight? You know, last week I talked about a together movement, about all of us coming together as one. But how do we do that? How do we fight? But you see, we live in a world where hate, racism, sexism, homophobia, xenophobia, gun violence, and where political division is tearing the country apart. How do we begin to fight? How do we make our world a better place? All of us should desire to make our world a better place, even if it's only the small world in which we inhabit day to day. We should have a desire to make it better, not to make it worse. The old saying is every parent wants to see their child in a better condition, better situation, more prosperous and happier, filled with joy than how they lived. So we should want to make our world a better place. But how do we do that? We live in a country deeply divided on the most important question of life. Yeah, I'm going to give you the most important question in life. You might say that's a pretty bold statement. But I think this question, it cuts to the chase. It is the chief cornerstone of our existence. And here it goes. What does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be human? You see, folks, we're still trying to understand that condition. We're still trying to answer that critical question. What does it mean to be human? This is comprised of life, value, respect, dignity, opportunity, safety, love, and acceptance. What does it mean to be human? The whole battle, the whole narrative of world history is defining that. The whole act of war, man versus man, conqueror versus those who have been conquered, the ruling class versus the proletariat. What does it mean to be human? The master versus the slave, the system versus the oppressed. What does it mean to be human? It seems like a easy answer to the question. but it's something about the human condition. It's something about the soul of man. It's something about the ego and the psyche that prevents us from even beginning to address the depths of this question. What does it mean to be human? You see, folks, we can't seem to even get beyond race or who doesn't have the right to believe in a God. And who is that God to believe in? What God is worthy to be worshiped? We are deeply divided between regulating the origin of life versus a woman's right to choose. I ask you again, how do we begin to fight in this backdrop of history, in this backdrop of our current moment? How do we begin to fight? How do we make our world a better place? A better place. Not just for me, not just for you, but for all of us. Getting back to the question, what does it mean to be human? Why should my life be so great and someone else's life be so poor? I'm not saying my life is so great. I'm just giving the analogy. We all have trials and tribulations. But why should I enjoy the fruits of my labor at the expense of others? Why would I not try to make the world a better place? A skeptic would say that our problems are too numerous and too large to solve. Yeah. You see, many have checked out. Don't get confused by the activity that you're caught up in to think that other folks have that same passion or other folks are engaged like you are. They are not. Many have checked out. They become so skeptical of the system, so skeptical of current leadership and politicians and pundits. They become so skeptical that they've simply checked out. They've said, it's too much. There's too many things gone wrong. There are too many people believing this, too many different things. And we're in the day and age where truth itself doesn't matter. That truth is relevant, that you can create your own truth. And so the skeptic says, there is no hope. We can't even agree if health care is a human right, that the sick among us, the afflicted, we can't even agree that they can go and get the proper care that they need. This is Sunday, and the good book says you should take care of your widows and orphans, that the poor should be taken care of. Yet, we can't even agree on the suffering, whether that is a human right to seek healing. We can't even agree to the fact that no child, not just in America, but around the world, should never go to bed hungry. That's the world we live in. We continue to believe in the worst of each of us, and our ill behavior towards one another is a reflection of that belief. We've just seen the recent gun violence against our Asian brothers and sisters. A continuation of the gun violence that has been happening in our country for generations. Again, my question, what does it mean to be human? The skeptic says there is no hope. The world is spinning out of control and there's nothing that anyone can do about it. So guess what? I'm just going to get mine. I don't care about you. I don't want you to care about me. I'm just going to get mine. Yes, this individuality. We have to do better. If we want to fight, if we want to change our country, we cannot be skeptics only. We must be believers in something. Yet, an optimist would say that while I breathe, I hope. While I breathe, I hope. You see, hope is nourishment to a weary soul. It is the main ingredient in the recipe of endurance. It is the inescapable place of refuge in times of a storm. It is that soft but persistent voice telling you, despite what you may feel or what you may see, it's going to be all right. We're going to be all right. And I think a lot of times we're overwhelmed completely with the things we feel, the things we see, and the things we anticipate. Arthur says the world reeks of skepticism due to the lack of respect and willingness to collaborate or hear each other out. What if we would listen? Listen to each other, as Arthur has pointed out. What if we would take the moment, the time to really hear and feel each other? Yeah, I'm going to get to that here in a minute. What if we would experience one another in a way that we haven't done before? What if we would open up our minds to new understanding, to enlightenment? What if we could look at ourselves honestly and say, I don't know everything. Matter of fact, I know very little. Teach me. Enlighten me. Yes, I think the world will be a much better place, but we live in a world of know-it-all. I'm Mr. Know-it-all. I know everything. Just speak a subject. I know everything. How can we live in a world that provides the same protection and opportunity when we think we have no room to grow? The optimists would say that while I still breathe, and the proper quote is, yet while I still breathe, I hope. Yeah. When all else fails, hope endures. I ask you again, how do we begin to fight? How do we make our world a better place? How do we find harmony in chaos? Tranquility in destruction. Brokenness in the light of day. How do we find the answers to what does it mean to be human in a world that continues to dehumanize everyone outside of the dominant culture. You see, I spent a lot of time on this show talking about the collective society, about what we need to do as a group. But for a few moments, I want to talk about the individual. I want to talk about you. Arthur goes on and says, all of this just prevents people from doing what's right, which is honestly just the easiest thing to do the majority of the time. Yeah. You would think that's the case. You would think that it's easy to be kind and to want to see others prosper and to speak well of people and to treat others like you would want to be treated. You would think that would be easy. But it's not. It seems the conspiracies and the lies and the disinformation and the pursuit of power and money is much more fulfilling than lifting up your brother or your sister. Eleanor Roosevelt said this: in the long run, we shape our lives and we shape ourselves. The process never ends until we die. And the choices we make are ultimately our own responsibility. How do we fight? How do we make our world a better place? It begins with you. It begins with me. It begins with the individual. We cannot toss this responsibility on a group, on an organization, on Congress, on the United Nations, on world diplomacy, on treaties and trades and regulatory policy. It's you. You have that responsibility to make this world a better place. It's an awesome responsibility, but it is up to you. It is up to me. We cannot look to the other person. We cannot look outside. We have to look within the measure of who you are. It is up to you. Listen, folks, I got to pay a couple of bills here. We're going to take a break, and we're going to break down just how we do this. We're going to talk about just how we fight and how we make our world a better place. I'll be right back. This is Michael Eric Owens, host of the One Mic, One Voice show. I want to give a shout out to all of our listeners all across the globe. Thank you for your undivided attention and for your conversation. You can catch us every Sunday on YouTube, 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And you can also catch us on Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, on any one of those lovely, wonderful podcasting platforms you love to listen to. Please always remember, you can change the world. It's your choice. Lisa says, we passed a law denying water to human beings in 2021. The fight needs to be massive and well organized. I agree with that. Massive. It cannot be isolated. It cannot be geographical. It must be universal. Because what we're talking about is humanity, which is universal. How do we fight? How do we make our world a better place? Let's personalize this question right down to the individual's level. How do I fight? And how do I make this world a better place? I want to give you 7 things. Just 7. There's probably more, but I think this encompasses the idea, the concept, and can get you thinking in the right direction. You see, if we want to have this massive and organized fight, number one, on the individual, because I'm dealing with the individual, we have to self-evaluate. We have to take an honest assessment of who we are and what we are. And if you follow the show, you've heard me talk about this in times past, this self-indictment, this view of the self that is honest, that is pure, but penetrating. I know we live in a generation where we look for the likes and the hearts and all of that, the self-gratification, and we look for all of the, I would say, the vanity of life. And where that is rewarded, you look at the Grammys, and again, many of you guys know I'm a musician, but I'm not going to knock on folks that are getting awards. But it's not about the music anymore. It's about the popularity. If you can become popular and get millions of followers, they give you a record deal. Because it's all about money. And so we live in a society where life is created in a false way. Where people are on their social media and they're renting or a Bentley for a day and making a photo shoot, and you thinking that you need to do something to get a Bentley. And they're renting out these lavish places and having these parties and presenting that to you as if that is their day-to-day lifestyle. Self-evaluation. Who am I? What am I? What am I at the core? What do I believe? What are my fears? What are my limitations? What makes me vulnerable? What are my prejudices? What did mama and daddy teach me that wasn't true? Now I got to relearn. Understanding the self. You can't fight until you free yourself. Too many of us have our bullhorns. Too many of us are standing up saying we're speaking truth, but the only person that we're not speaking truth to is the one we see every day in our mirror. We're so afraid to be truthful with ourselves. Nobody is better than you, and you are no better than anybody else. I don't care how popular you are, or how much money you have, or what material wealth you have obtained. You are no better than anyone else. Can you honestly look at yourself? Because if you can't do a self-evaluation, don't get in the fight, because you are a liability. You bring your ego, you bring your fragility, you bring your prejudice, you bring all of that, which will guess what, folks? It'll tank the movement. It'll tank the movement. Get yourself together. I hope 2020 was something that opened your eyes to who you are. Maybe it was the first time for a lot of us to spend time alone, isolated, so that we had to sit still and contemplate our life. Hopefully you went through a process, a metamorphosis, and you came out the other side changed, strengthened, rejuvenated, wiser, more determined. Number one, self-evaluation. Number two, stop viewing the world from the macro level. Remember, I talked about the skeptic that says our problems are too big to solve. They're too numerous. That's from the macro level. When we look at the world, when we look at what's happening in Europe and throughout South America, and we look at what's happening in our country, when we look at the famine, the havoc that the virus has reaped around this world, when we look at all of that, and we still know that, guess what? There's still people being driven out of their villages. There's still people without water. There's still tribal war going on. If we look from the macro level, one would say it's too much. Where do we begin? I'm just one person. No, we need to look at our level. What's at your level? How can you be the change at your level? How can you impact people on your level? How can you wound? How can you banish the wounds of the broken on your level? How can you speak a kind word on your level? How can you support somebody on your level? See, some of us are so far up. Our view of everything is so overwhelming that we are paralyzed because we can't move on the macro level. We can move on the micro level. We can move on our level. So stop sitting around listening to, I don't care whether it's Fox, CNN, MSNBC, nightly news. Don't spend your day being inundated, being spoon-fed everything that is wrong with this planet. What's wrong with your level? Yeah, because see, there's levels, right? We fix our level. We can move up a level. My man over here fixes his level. My sister over here fixes her level. We moving up. But it starts with the self. Then your level. Too many of us are so busy worrying about what's going on the macro level that we could care less about what's happening at our level. It's like the parent out here volunteering and doing all this good work for kids that don't have parents, but the child that's in their own home, they neglect. Your level. Your level. Number 3, stop being controlled by the mainstream media. And this is what I mean. Stop letting the mainstream media tell you how to think, what to believe, what's important. They have the same access to information just like you do. Some of us think because you turn on the nightly news, you know it all. You up to date. You are informed. You are not. Every news agency has their own slant. Every one of them is easy to figure out. If you listening, you probably listen to the news that makes you the most comfortable. That feeds into your own way of looking at life, your own agenda. I'm not saying nothing wrong with that, but don't let that be your sole source of how you view the world. Be critical thinkers. Research for yourself. Do a deep dive for yourself. Learn. Grow. Do your own work. I hate when people get into these debates with me and they want me to do their research. They want me to prove something to them. I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone. I'm just trying to give you the information. I'm trying to help you expand your mind. I'm trying to get you to understand that the world is bigger than you or I. But it is up to you to do your homework. When people ask black people, what should they do about racism? What you mean? I didn't create racism. I don't control racism, the policies and the system in place. Ask yourself, because you have benefited from the system. Do your homework. Do not be controlled. And folks, we have people that are controlled. They are literally controlled. They get their media from this place. They listen to these people, and that is it, because everything else to them is fake. It's lies. They are controlled. We cannot fight or make this world a better place if we are controlled. It takes free thinking, free agency in order to bring about the change that we need in this country and in this world. We may be citizens of America, but we are citizens of the world. We are citizens of humanity. Is it right for us to live plush in America and for people to suffer across the world? People might say, well, hold on a minute now. I'm a proud American. How did you get that? You had no choice in the origin of your parents or of your birth or your house you were going to be born into, the socioeconomic status. You had no choice. So how can you claim anything? You could have been born at a poor country in Eastern Europe. So those people don't matter? See, it is this tribal thinking, this nationalistic thinking that prevents us from fighting the right fight and making our world a better place. And number 4, you need to deploy that knowledge. You really can't get in the fight. Lisa said what? We need to fight. It needs to be massive and well organized. You can't get into a fight, folks, if you don't have the information. There are people that are fighting on behalf of black folks, don't even know the history of black folks. You say, why does that matter? How can you help with people you don't understand? That's counseling 101. And you sit down, you start talking about yourself, about your life and your history and what you've been through. You don't walk in and counsel and say, hey, look here, I got the answers for you. Well, hold up, man. You ain't even heard me. I ain't even said nothing. No, I got the answers for you. No, you can't help with people that you don't know. I keep stressing this to my white brothers and sisters. You can't help black folks. You don't know them. You haven't experienced them. You haven't experienced their culture. You haven't been involved with their culture. You said, well, I saw stuff on the news and I listened to black music. That's not what I'm talking about. Do you know black people? Because we know you. Well, how do we know you? Because we have, first of all, we were taken and put into a white world. We were educated through a white education system. We were taught by white people. We were hired by white people. Okay? We got loans for our house from white people, most of us. So yes, we know you. You don't know us. I encourage, again, know black people. Don't read about us in a book. That's nice too, but know us personally. Feel us. Understand us. Because when you do that, you can deploy that knowledge. You can share that knowledge. Everyone today has a platform. The question is, how large of a platform do you have? Everyone has a platform. If you're on social media, you have a platform. How are you using your platform? I mean, there are people out there, white, black, Latinx, men, women. There are people out there that are using their platform for a better world. They are. What they say is not always recognized as that, is recognized as being confrontational, maybe a little radical. But what they're trying to do is waking you up. You say you woke. You know, this is what's so funny. You say you woke, but when I tell you something, you got a problem with it, but you woke. When I point out your error, you have a problem with me, but you're woke. What are you exactly woke about? You woke about people like me and my experiences and the things that I have went through. You woke about black and brown people, but yet when black and brown people speak to you, you have a problem. So are you really woke? Or are you just daydreaming? Listen. You have a platform. And when you're using that platform, right, make sure you're correct in what you're saying. And the only way you're going to do that, folks, is to get the knowledge. I applaud everyone. Social media to me is, I'm sorry, this is just me. Social media is to move the culture forward, to bring us together, to spread knowledge, to encourage one another, but to speak truth. That's social media to me. I'm not all about boom, I'm here, look what I'm eating, and I got some new shoes, bam, take a look at them. That's just, I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying That's not me. Number 5, stop engaging and hanging out with negative and slightly unbalanced people. Yeah, I'm amazed that just because you have known someone for a long time, you feel obligated to have their negativity in your life. Man, we've known each other since high school, man. That's just the way he is. No. If you don't think negativity has an impact on you, then you're clueless. We cannot fight and make our world better if we are basking in negativity. If everything is negative, everything is a problem. If you can't see some sort of beauty, if you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, if you don't have the hope and a better tomorrow, I don't want to be around you. I'm going to be honest with you. And slightly unbalanced people. Let me explain what slightly unbalanced people. You can't really point it out. You know, like you look, sometimes maybe got some carpenters, but when you put that leveler up and you're looking and it's balanced, but it's a little off, but you really can't tell, but you feel something wrong here. You've been around those people where you can't put your finger on it, but you just know. Yeah, that's a narc. That's a narcissist. Yeah. He's sociopathic. Yeah, something's off about her. You cannot, listen, make this world a better place if those are the folks that you associate with. Now, someone will say, well, I'm there to make them better. That's a waste of your energy. No one can make anyone better. Only you can make yourself better. No one can change anyone. Only you can change yourself. Number 6. This is a big one. We're almost done. Number 6. Be empathetic. Be empathetic. I was speaking to a group of students last month, and the question was, it's a great question. It's a question that's asked a lot. Can you teach empathy? Can you teach empathy? I did a whole podcast on it years ago. I'm of the opinion that some of us, because the way that we are socialized, when we go through the socialization process, when we're nurtured, and part of that proper nourishing creates a sense of empathy for others. And some of us are not. Matter of fact, I would say the majority of people in the world are not socialized like that. That's why 1 in every 25 is a I think I'm back. Am I back? I think I'm back. Somebody type in, you're back. It says we deal with technology. I don't know for how long I was gone. I'm trying right now. I think I'm back. I'm not hearing from anybody. But I'm going to finish up. Being empathetic is key. You have to be. In order for us to make our world a better place, we have to empathize with those who are different than us. Different is just different. It's not deficient, just different than us. We have to understand their challenges, their pain, their shortcomings. We have to feel that and embrace that. To each other. Doesn't go just one way. And the final thing is to be a contributor and not just a critic to this thing called life. If we want to fight and we want to make our world a better place, we have to be a contributor. We just can't criticize what we see. We can't stand on the sidelines. We can't continue to sit this out. We have to participate. And if we participate, then we are contributing. We are contributing, folks, to making our world a better place. Because history will speak of us. Somewhere in the distant future, a scribe will reach down deep into the archives of our time. And what will she find? Will she discover that we overcame our differences? Will she find that out of many, we became one? Or will she find that we solved nothing and remain a divided peoples? Yes, history will speak of us.
All we gotta do is work together. We gotta raise our children better. We gotta stop the hate, and spread the love. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. Your choice.
Thank you for downloading the One Mic, One Voice show. Take a moment and subscribe and share. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, or any other podcasting platform. Thank you for your continued support and for your voice. You can change the world. It's your choice. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on the One Mic, One Voice show are not the views, thoughts, and opinions of our sponsors.